Kothari. We're bringing you stories from the world of business, policy and economy. We're opening this morning with markets. With me in the studio is Karthik Malhotra and Amit Ranjan. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Shweta.
How the markets looking up?
I see the 5-day streak of winning of green has unfortunately turned red. What are you picking up?
Exactly that. I was just about to say that.
Yes, so both Sensex and Nifty down, not significantly, down just about 0.2% or so, but the winning streak of the last 5 years, at least on market open, has that jinx has been jinxed, literally. Right, now a lot of action, of course, today as expected. This is something that the market, that the traders, that even journalists like us had been waiting for with pretty much bated breath, that Jio Financial Services is going to get listed today. The demerger has happened and the price discovery was underway till a few minutes back, and the price discovery has happened. So anybody out there who's looking at their dashboards on Zerodha, Motilal Oswal or any of the other upstocks, grow dashboards of equity indices, Reliance is going to look horribly in the red. Reliance is down about 9% or so from yesterday's last trading price. But remember, this is just price discovery happening for Reliance. The new price discovery after the demerger, and parallelly the price discovery for the newly listed Jio Financial Services. So Reliance has been one of the key indices, which are in the red, but technically this is not really a red. This is just a part of the business taken away, listed separately, and hence both will have to be looked into, taken into account together to arrive at what the mood of the stock on the overall erstwhile as we knew it, the merged entity of Reliance Industries with Jio Financial part of it. Now, overall, the advanced decline ratio is looking unhealthy today. Okay. You don't have great number of companies in the green right now as we speak, and the board is mostly looking red. Right now, 10:03 a.m., Sensex is down from its 67,000 levels that it crossed yesterday, down about 145 points or so. At 67,000 and it's back in 67,000 range. It's crossed that 67,000 range again, 67,014 as we speak, and Nifty is holding at about 19,815 levels, down about 17 points or so.
All right, so I suppose that's marginally down. You wouldn't say that the markets are correcting at this point in time. And how much would you attribute it to Reliance pulling down the markets?
So let's talk about Reliance and JFS particularly. Reliance shares yesterday were trading in the range of about 2,800 rupees or so, right? I think the closing price yesterday was 2,822. This morning, Reliance is down about, it started down about 251 points or so. And that is exactly the price discovery that happened with Jio Financial Services. Jio Financial Services listed at 261. So the loss of 251 rupees, which was roughly about 9% on the Reliance share price, was more than offset by the listing of Jio Financial Services. Let's try and pull up those Jio Financial Services graphics also as we speak. So the range, the market estimates and analyst estimates on JFS were in the range of 160 to 190 rupees a share, and that of course has been breached now. If you look at the latest numbers that have just come in, JFS found its price at 261 rupees, whereas Reliance Industries lost value worth 251 rupees, giving an overall advantage of about 10 rupees to each shareholder. Remember, with this JFS demerger, Reliance had said and will stick to the fact that it's going to be a 1:1 share allocation for all Reliance Industries shareholders. They will get an equal number of shares in the newly listed JFS. So that is not really much of a concern when we talk about broader markets. Let's try and bring up the new prices also for for JFS, which has just been listed, and also look at the payment history, the sort of fintech history of JFS. It's been a company which got its payment bank license in 2015, and thereon it has continuously sort of, build little one step at a time on this financial services sector. Now, major disruptions are expected because this is a Reliance product, because this is a Jio product. There are major disruptions expected both on institutional lending as well as pure play fintech, consumer fintech as we know it. So a lot of antennas are up, trying to see, gauge, estimate what disruption is this newest baby from the Jio stable going to bring to the industry, to the market. Now, among the institutional lenders, Jio Financial Services is already expected to be among the top 5 in the country. And once its listing is through and once we have the overall market closing today, we'll see what was the trading action and eventually what was the valuation. Did it catapult the stock straight into Nifty 50 on day one of its listing, or does it lag behind by a few points? Opening sentiments look positive. It looks like the estimations have been beaten fairly well. About 190 was the upper limit of the price band expected. It's listed at 216 rupees. So it's a good almost 70 rupees per share.
In fact, 261 is
261,
yes.
261 versus 190, which is the upper band. So
right.
we're talking about 70 rupees per share up. So good chances that by end of trading session or somewhere in between, we will see JFS in the Nifty 50 stack among the 50 most valuable companies in India. And parallelly, I think this whole disruption in the fintech space, consumer lending. Remember, Reliance is not a company which does niche segments. Reliance is a mass company. Whatever they do it for mass disruption, right? So it's carpet bombing any industry you enter into. And this is financial services, which already has a lot of startups. It has unicorns. It has unicorns who are no longer unicorns. But this whole payments business, financial services, consumer lending, institutional lending, all of this augmented under the Jio Financial Services should be the story to write about in a few days' time.
And that is in fact spooking a lot of fintech players. As you rightly pointed out, Jio and Reliance in particular, with a habit of carpet bombing, eating away a larger share of the pie and the market share of whatever industry it jumps into, be it telecom, now fintech services, something that existing players are worried about.
Totally, and should be. I mean, nobody has the kind of deep pockets that Reliance Industries has.
Absolutely.
So even for Jio Financial Services, the company is not going to be dependent on prevailing market rates, high interest rates to borrow from X and lend to Y. I think in this case, the X factor is the parent itself. Borrow from the parent and lend at a better than market rate to your borrower, to your creditor, and therefore
does that kill the competition? I understand the demerger has also gone through all the existing regulatory authorities to ensure that there is no anti-competitive practice, but for people who already exist in the market, it is going to be a big dampener. I hope that does not kill the competition.
I mean, it could definitely throw a few players off guard. It could, there could be...
And I'm trying to borrow from the example of telecom, where Vodafone
totally,
ran out of business.
Yeah, but I think eventually, if businesses, whether they have monopolistic, duopolistic, or perfectly competitive strategies in place, as long as these businesses are delivering value to the end consumer, as long as they are delivering economies of, which suit the larger population better, I think a few players in the way will serve as collateral damage. But eventually, if consumers stand to gain and there aren't any anti-competitive practices at play, I don't think there's much to worry about.
All right, not much to worry about, but a few players there, of course, expected to take a beating, and Paytm stock, I'm given to understand, is also spooked. We will, of course, keep tracking. Paytm results are expected tomorrow. In fact, today, Infosys results are expected, Karthik, and that's something we are tracking. IT Pack has done really well, and in fact has been one of the reasons why bulls have rallied in markets. What are the expectations from Infosys?
So expectations from Infosys are good on a Y-to-Y basis. There is expected to be a 14% rise in net income and revenue when you compare Q1 of the results which will come out today, Q1 of 2024 versus Q1 of last year, 2023. So there is likely to be a 14 to 16%. That's the guidance given by the government. There is going to be a Y-on-Y quarterly growth of about 14%. But an annualized growth for FY24 is likely to be subdued to single digits, maybe low single digits, 5% to 7% or so seems to be the range. But sequential growth, which is Q4 of last financial year, the Jan-Feb-March quarter versus the April-May-June quarter, for which the results will come out today, the sequential growth is likely to be fairly flat. And this is going to be flat both on revenue as well as margins, obviously in equal measure. Why is this happening? This is again happening because of the same issues that have plagued sequential earning for the rest of the IT pack. While the bellwether TCS as well as today Infosys, while TCS has registered a stronger than expected growth, we saw what happened with HCL Tech, and Infosys is also likely to be pretty much in the same line where there is going to be a flat sequential growth, and hopefully and Q2 is also likely to be flat. Hopefully Q3 onwards is when we can see some sort of a resurgence in business activity, especially because of US recession chances becoming more and more bleak with every passing day, and some sort of stability in interest rates in the US also expected. So it seems like business taps are going to start running again from the West for business into IT sector in India somewhere around end of Q2, early Q3. Until then, I think a flattish growth is what is expected. Right now, when you look at the Infosys stock, in fact, I think there is some profit booking already happening today. The share is trading about 2% lower this morning. So it seems like the market is waiting for this IT bellwether Infosys, India's second largest IT company, to come out with some sort of an expected line posting, if not a better than expectation posting, and then we could see some action in the stocks picking up again.
All right, we will of course keep tracking all those details. But shifting focus to another important story that we're tracking, and it's coming by the way of Tesla. Amit, it appears that Tesla's revenue is soaring. What is driving the profits?
Hello, Shweta. The first thing that's probably driving their income jump, that has seen a jump of 20%, is their aggressive price cuts, especially in the two models, Model Y and Model 3. So this year, Model Y has seen a recent drop of $3,000 in the US. That is the Model Y long range and the Model Y performance in the US. On the graphics, we have given the comparison of US prices and Australia prices. Model 3 has recently seen a drop of $2,000 after seeing a drop of $1,000 in this. So the aggressive price cuts have been offset big time by this jump in sales, and therefore the income jump, a net income jump of 20% and a total income jump, a total revenue jump of 47%. Earnings per share at 78 cents have also seen a rise of 20%. But share prices after the announcements of these results came dropped from 292 marginally to 291.26.
But
profit margins have obviously declined because of the price cuts.
Yeah. Okay, and I was coming to that. The profit margins have declined because of the price cuts. What is the strategy here? What is Elon Musk thinking?
Market.
So I think, Shweta, what Elon Musk was actually betting on, and this is a strategy which has yielded mixed results, if we can say. I think the idea was, again, profitability or margin per unit sold versus scale. It's that typical startup phenomena where do you want to grow your customer base? Do you want to sell more at a reduced price? Or would you rather make margin unit economics per unit of sale? That is exactly what has happened. So like Amit was mentioning, Elon Musk decided to slash prices across its top two models, which was Model 3 and Model Y, both of which together command about 95% of Tesla's total sales. They have other models also. The Model Y is a compact SUV, pretty much the trend that we are seeing in India, and the Model S is a small-sized sedan. So, it's a more affordable car, right? The idea was reduce prices, slash them drastically, so you're able to penetrate deeper into the market. You have more number of people queuing up to buy Tesla vehicles, and because they're sold at a lower price, the absolute unit profitability reduces, and that is what we are seeing in the net margin going down.
Right.
But overall sales have become high. Sales have exceeded 20%, so revenue is up 20%, absolute profits are up 20%. Profit margin has reduced, and that is impacting the share price.
This actually reminds me of the Apple example. Why? Because Apple continues to be a niche product,
Yeah.
and despite any variables in manufacturing and production of Apple, we know for a fact that Apple rather has decided to not slash prices because they want to continue to address that niche segment. It appears what Elon Musk is doing at this point is counterintuitive, because Tesla for very long has been a niche product.
Has been a premium product, has not remained a niche product because its market share in the US, in China, and in some European countries is now almost equal to those of traditional players. So if you look at Elon Musk's vision, his target is, so I'll just give you some numbers to put this in context. Last year, Tesla manufactured and sold 1 million vehicles, right? 1 million, not a huge number if you look at India as a context, because India in a quarter sells 1 million vehicles, right? But a market like US, in which there are other players, including Toyota, which is the largest selling global automotive brand, Tesla was able to sell 1 million vehicles, which was a sizable 30 to 40% market share of the total US market. In China, its sales have now tapered down because of other competition from BYD and other Chinese companies. But otherwise, Tesla's target this year is to take it up to about 1.3 million. By end of this decade, by 2030, Elon Musk has come on record and stated that he wants to make as many as 20 million electric cars a year. Industry analysts feel 20 million is a huge number, it's not going to happen. But maybe somewhere between 5 to 6 million is where the market would mature and where Tesla's market size would mature. So even if you're talking about 5 to 6 million vehicles, selling those 5 to 6 million vehicles by end of the decade at the price at which Tesla was selling up until early this year, before the prices of the cars were slashed, is going to be impossible. You won't be able to sell that much. And incidentally, today is the day that even the electric truck from Tesla is going to be launched in the US, which looks pretty much like a Mars rover and all silver colored, metallic, fairly ugly looking item, if I can say, but doesn't look anything like the trucks that we are used to seeing. It looks like a complete armored vehicle, right? Disruption. But yeah, I mean, 1 million vehicles last year, 1.3 million expected this year. Estimated 20 million, targeted 20 million, estimated 5 to 6 million by end of this decade. Is going to come at mass adoption scale, and it's not going to come being a niche product.
So they don't want it to be a niche product, but it continues to be a premium product.
So see, I think electric vehicles per se will cease to be niche products. When Tesla was launched and electric vehicles, this vision statement that Elon Musk gave, sounding all socialistic and cause-driven with respect to climate change, I think back then, the idea was that electric vehicles are going to be niche products. Now, electric vehicles themselves are no longer niche products. If you look at the West, look at Tata Jaguar Land Rover. By 2030, the entire JLR fleet is going to be completely electric. Look at India. By 2030, 30% of our passenger vehicles are expected to be completely electric. And I think we should be able to exceed that if our own domestic issues around subsidies get sorted out. But it doesn't seem like electric vehicles will be a niche product anymore, and hence Tesla will have to be a significant player in this largely mass becoming electric vehicle market.
So if EV is not a niche product, how do you ensure more people buy it? Similar to case in point in India, you make sure it becomes cheaper, it becomes more affordable for people to buy it, Amit.
Yeah, and Tesla has to cover more ground than any of these traditional car makers, because they have their markets in place. They have their dealerships, they have their connections, everything in place. Tesla has to do all of that. So they have to be much, much more aggressive in basically selling their car, hustling to the customers day after day. How aggressive goes, I can say since January, Model Y has come down 24%. That is 3/4 the price of Model Y if somebody bought it in January and now. So they have to be aggressive. They need the market penetration. And Elon Musk, true to being what he is aggressive. He is a hustler. He has shown that over time.
I just hope that that is the same price point at which he sells in India, or perhaps lower.
Cheaper.
Lower, way lower.
20 lakh rupees
20
is
lakh.
what he has promised for,
Right.
for entry into India.
Absolutely. And since we're talking about EVs, another interesting story that is coming in by the way of our homegrown, indigenous Tata Group is drifting away from Make in India, but it's not a cause of worry, rather it's a cause of joy, because they are investing as much as £4 billion in the UK to make EV batteries.
And that's a huge investment, Shweta. Now, remember, about 6 weeks back also, Tata Sons had announced setting up a battery manufacturing, EV manufacturing plant in Gujarat, 13,000 crore rupees. I don't know what that translates to in pounds. I think divided by 100 would be the easy math
correct,
to do.
yeah.
But £4 billion worth of investments in the UK, Europe, all of Europe, ever since I think the last 30 years or so, has not been seen as a manufacturing hub, right? It's been seen as a consumer market. You make in Asia and you sell in Europe, right? You make in Asia and you sell in USA. So I think the developed economy has not seen mass scale industrialization as we know it, factories being set up for the longest time.
50 years,
right?
Yes.
And this is the time when Tata Sons decides to invest in the UK, create 4,000 jobs, create a 40 gigawatt hour capacity battery cell manufacturing unit, which is going to be the largest ever investment in the automotive sector in the UK and among the largest ever investments in all of Europe, right? So it seems like the Tata Group is trying to safeguard its own interests, knowing that getting access to semiconductors or getting access to raw material goes into the technology, getting that from China and other not so friendly countries into India could pose as a challenge. Now, of course, JLR is a UK-based company. Tata bought that, and it makes immense sense with this electrification of the JLR fleet for a closer to home sort of manufacturing unit which can supply to the JLR plant. So JLR of course becomes the first primary target for the manufactured output of this unit, but I think that technology transfer and the transfer of vendors to India is also something that Tata Group would be working with in tandem.
I'm not a jingoist, but it does bring me immense joy and pleasure to hear that an Indian company is taking jobs to UK.
Creating jobs.
4,000
of them.
And 4,000 of them in the UK, a country that's ruled India for more than 100 years. I think maybe
200 years.
200 years. More than 100, 200 years. I think it's a cause of I wouldn't so much say joy, but I think it's something to be proud of. Pride, absolutely.
Yeah, and Tata has brought this country pride more often than
laurels and pride.
Laurels and pride more often than not. So yeah, it's something to be proud of. Not for the reasons that they have ruled us for 200 years, but for the fact JLR, Land Rover, Jaguar are huge brands that once they were taken over
the
by
acquisition,
Tata,
I remember,
and
even that during the time of the acquisition, I think that was also a moment of celebration for a lot of people here that an Indian group has acquired land.
Not only did they buy it, they turned it around.
They turned it around.
Yeah, so that
it was an ailing unit. But just look at the whole auto journey of the Tata Group, starting with Tata Indica as the first Tata car. Actually, it started with Tata Safari and Tata Estate, which were more SUVs. But Tata Indica is the first passenger car in India back in 2000, 2001, if I remember. And then this whole bad quality, low cost plethora of cars from Indigo to then the failed Tata Nano to this whole recovery that we have seen ever since the JLR acquisition happened. And look at the Tata Harrier, look at the Tata Nexon, look at all the other low-cost electric vehicles that Tata is selling in India today, Tigor and a few more, Tiago. I think these are all fairly robust vehicles which have given that image fillip to Tata.
Turned around its fortune.
Yeah, and more than the fortune, I think this image makeover that is not a low-cost, cheap quality, bad fitted, uncomfortable to sit in vehicles. I think Tata Group, ever since the JLR acquisition, has only bettered its offerings in India and aiding competition in also coming up with better and better products. So I think this whole factory setup, electric mobility is the thrust area. And in fact, N. Chandrasekaran has gone on record and said that, if he can pull up that quote also of his, he's gone on record and said that, that this is going to be one of the state-of-the-art investments, in the electric mobility for not just the UK but for the rest of the world. And in fact, his statement has also, and his move to invest this has also attracted the Prime Minister of UK, Rishi Sunak, to come out and praise the investment made by Tata Sons, going on record and saying that this is the largest ever automotive sector investment in the UK. So you're right, there is pride. There is, of course, jingoism also to it. Why not? I mean, here we have an Indian company which is creating jobs and giving a push to the UK economy, which is dwindling. It is not growing. And this factory will be up and running in 2026.
High energy prices,
inflation, and we are driving the EV story pretty much from India and from Indian investments.
All right, I think we're getting live feed of Prime Minister. We'll cut to that now.
नमस्कार साथियों, मॉनसून सत्र में आप सबका स्वागत है। सावन का पवित्र मास चल रहा है और इस बार तो डबल सावन है और इसलिए सावन की अवधि भी जरा ज्यादा है और सावन मास पवित्र संकल्प के लिए, पवित्र कार्यों के लिए बहुत ही उत्तम माना जाता है। और आज जब लोकतंत्र के मंदिर में इस सावन के पवित्र मास में मिल रहे हैं तो ये लोकतंत्र का मंदिर ऐसे अनेक पवित्र कार्य करने के लिए इससे बड़ा उत्तम अवसर नहीं हो सकता है। मुझे विश्वास है कि सभी माननीय सांसद मिलकर के इस सत्र का जनहित में सर्वाधिक उपयोग करेंगे। संसद की जो जिम्मेवारी है और संसद में हर सांसद की जो जिम्मेवारी है, ऐसे अनेक कानूनों का बनाना, उसकी विस्तार से चर्चा करना बहुत ही आवश्यक है। और चर्चा जितनी ज्यादा होती है, चर्चा जितनी ज्यादा पैनी होती है, उतना जनहित में दूरगामी परिणाम देने वाले अच्छे निर्णय होते हैं। सदन में जो माननीय सांसद आते हैं वो धरती से जुड़े हुए होते हैं, जनता के दुख दर्द को समझने वाले होते हैं और इसलिए जब चर्चा होती है तो उनकी तरफ से जो विचार आते हैं वो जड़ों से जुड़े हुए विचार आते हैं और इसलिए चर्चा तो समृद्ध होती है, निर्णय भी सशक्त होते हैं, परिणामकारी होते हैं। और इसलिए मैं सभी राजनीतिक दलों को, सभी माननीय सांसदों को इस सत्र का भरपूर उपयोग करके जनहित के कामों को हम आगे बढ़ाएं। ये सत्र अनेक रूप से महत्व का भी है क्योंकि इस सत्र में जो बिल लाए जा रहे हैं वो सीधे सीधे जनता के हितों से जुड़े हुए हैं। हमारी युवा पीढ़ी जो पूरी तरह डिजिटल वर्ल्ड के साथ एक प्रकार से नेतृत्व कर रही है, उस समय डेटा प्रोटेक्शन बिल देश के हर नागरिक को एक नया विश्वास देने वाला बिल है और विश्व में भारत की प्रतिष्ठा बढ़ाने वाला बिल है। उसी प्रकार से नेशनल रिसर्च फाउंडेशन, ये बिल एनआरएफ नई शिक्षा नीति के संदर्भ में एक बहुत बड़ा अहम कदम है और इसका उपयोग अनुसंधान को बल देना, इनोवेशन को बल देना, रिसर्च को बल देना और हमारी युवा पीढ़ी जो विश्व के अंदर नए उपक्रमों के द्वारा विश्व का नेतृत्व करने का सामर्थ्य रखती है, उनके लिए बड़ा अवसर देकर के आ रही है। जनविश्वास बिल सामान्य मानवीय के प्रति भरोसा करना, अनेक कानूनों को डिक्रिमिनलाइज करना, इस मुहिम को आगे बढ़ाने वाला ये बिल, उसी प्रकार से जो पुराने कानून है उनको खत्म करने के लिए भी एक बिल में प्रावधान किया जा रहा है। हमारे यहां सदियों से एक परंपरा रही है कि जब विवाद हो तो संवाद से सुलझाया जाए। मीडिएशन की परंपरा हमारे देश की बहुत सदियों पुरानी है। उसको अब कानूनी आधार देते हुए मीडिएशन बिल लाने की दिशा में इस सत्र का बहुत बड़ा उपयोग है, जो अनेक विवादों से सामान्य मानवीय से लेकर के असामान्य संजोगों को भी मिल बैठ करके सुलझाने का एक मजबूत नींव बनाएगा। इसी प्रकार से डेंटल मिशन को लेकर के एक बिल जो हमारे डेंटल कॉलेजेस के लेकर मेडिकल के छात्रों के लिए एक नई व्यवस्था को आकार देगा। ऐसे अनेक महत्वपूर्ण बिल इस बार इस सत्र में संसद में आ रहे हैं। तब ये जनहित के हैं, ये युवा हित के हैं, ये भारत के उज्जवल भविष्य के लिए हैं। मुझे विश्वास है कि सदन में गंभीरतापूर्वक इन बिलों पर चर्चा करके हम बहुत तेजी से राष्ट्रहित के महत्वपूर्ण कदमों को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। साथियों, आज जब मैं आपके बीच आया हूं, इस लोकतंत्र के मंदिर के पास खड़ा हूं, तब मेरा हृदय पीड़ा से भरा हुआ है, क्रोध से भरा हुआ है। मणिपुर की जो घटना सामने आई है, किसी भी सभ्य समाज के लिए ये शर्मसार करने वाली घटना है। पाप करने वाले, गुनाह करने वाले कितने हैं, कौन है, वो अपनी जगह पे है, लेकिन बेइज्जती पूरे देश की हो रही है। 140 करोड़ देशवासियों को शर्मसार होना पड़ रहा है। मैं सभी मुख्यमंत्रियों से आग्रह करता हूं कि वे अपने राज्य में कानून व्यवस्थाओं को और मजबूत करें, खास करके हमारी माताओं बहनों की रक्षा के लिए कठोर से कठोर कदम उठाएं। घटना चाहे राजस्थान की हो, घटना चाहे छत्तीसगढ़ की हो, घटना चाहे मणिपुर की हो, इस देश में, हिंदुस्तान के किसी भी कोने में, किसी भी की राज्य सरकार में राजनीतिक वाद विवाद से ऊपर उठ करके कानून व्यवस्था का महात्म्य, नारी का सम्मान, और मैं देशवासियों को विश्वास दिलाना चाहता हूं, किसी भी गुनहगार को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। कानून अपनी पूरी शक्ति से, पूरी सख्ती से एक के बाद एक कदम उठाएगा। मणिपुर की इन बेटियों के साथ जो हुआ है, इसको कभी माफ नहीं किया जा सकता है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद दोस्तों।
All right, that's Prime Minister Narendra Modi right ahead of the monsoon session of the Parliament, talking about 31 bills that will be discussed in this session, which are currently pending in Parliament, expected to be taken up, but more importantly, giving his first statement ever on Manipur, talking particularly about a video that came out yesterday where 2 Kuki tribal women were paraded naked. We're not showing you visuals, neither the video nor the visuals of that incident that happened apparently in the month of May, but calling for an investigation, talking about it for the first time ever as to how it harms the pride of 140 crore Indians. But coming back to the issue at hand, which is the bills that will be tabled. Among the 31 bills, the Data Protection Bill, Medical Commission Bill, Medical Devices Bill, and among others will be, of course, key focus areas. Prime Minister also talks about the monsoon session and how it's been a double whammy. This monsoon has been a double whammy, and something that we've been tracking here is the inflation in pulses, vegetable prices, fruit prices, but more specifically tomatoes that are burning a hole in people's pocket in north of India. Government, of course, has taken some intervention, some measures to ensure that people do not continue to pay through their noses. One of the measures, of course, Karthik, is that there is going to be a price cap. Certain mandis in north of India are going to sell tomatoes as 70 rupees a kg.
That's right, Shweta, and I hope we actually see those prices at a retail level, because even earlier when prices were slashed last week to 90 rupees a kg, when they were trading at about 150 rupees a kg, the government, in fact the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, had directed NCCF and NAFED both to slash prices to 90 rupees a kg, and apparently prices were slashed, but the consumer did not get those prices, right? Earlier this week, the government asked the NCCF and NAFED to slash it further down to 80 rupees a kg, which it did on Monday, and then again yesterday slashed to 70 rupees a kg. Now, NCCF and NAFED are procuring these tons of 391 tons, I've been told, of tomatoes from mandis in Andhra Pradesh, in Karnataka and in Maharashtra for resale in North India, in UP, Bihar, Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab, Delhi NCR, etc. Right? But unfortunately, these prices, whether at 90 last week, whether at 80 on Monday, or whether 70 yesterday, are not available for consumers like you and me. In fact, mandis in Delhi are also jacking up prices, and what we get in the retail outlets or online through these quick commerce websites are these rates for half a kg and not the full kg. So I think more important than slashing prices at mandi level, some intervention now is required to tame these prices at a retail level. What the consumer pays for these tomatoes is eventually what the government should be focused on, and not what is being procured at what price and then undercutting losses and sold to mandis at what price.
Right.
I think it has to eventually come down to the retail level, and that hasn't yet started to happen.
That hasn't happened. In fact, Amit, right before this, we were discussing tomato prices and how we continue to buy tomatoes for as high as 200 rupees a kg, or maybe 170 to 180 rupees a kg.
Yes.
I don't believe, and not to the best of my buying habits, I mean, perhaps you can correct me, I haven't seen tomato prices going below that, at least in this last 7 days. So who exactly is getting tomatoes at 70 rupees a kg? Perhaps I would like to meet some of those people.
I think if it changes in the days to come, I'll be grateful and happy. But up to now, I do not know. So, like Karthik said, 70 rupees for half kg on these online delivery websites is the price you mostly get, 70 to 80.
And even local mandis for that matter.
Yeah.
Even local mandis are selling it for about 70 to 80 rupees for half a kg.
Yeah. So but I hope it comes down after the government has basically intervened, and I hope they take stricter measures that the mandis and the online services follow suit. So yeah, but I have not bought them for cheaper than this.
It's a typical demand-supply problem.
Yeah.
There is, of course, more demand, lesser supply, and no intervention is helping. Therefore, not at 90, not at 80, and I'm hoping at 70.
It seems like the government is trying to cut the losses of mandis, of wholesalers, because these are the folks who would have procured or would have placed orders for procurement at a time when prices were not that high. But then, because of the unseasonal rainfall, because of the delayed monsoon, because of damage during during the supply chain, I think the mandis, the warehouses would have incurred major losses.
Right.
So it seems like it's a measure to keep the mandis alive, to not make them bear the brunt of crop damage and of rotten tomatoes in the supply chain to the mandis, and thereafter some sort of translation of those mandi prices to retail level at about 5%, 8% margin should be expected over time. So 391 tons have been procured, and mandis would be buying those at 70 rupees a kg. I don't think they will sell them at 150 rupees a kg anymore. Once that procurement comes in, once it goes from warehouse to retail level, you should see some correction in prices. How much now again depends upon the negotiation between retailers and wholesalers and the availability of the produce.
And now that monsoon seemed to have pulled back slightly in the last couple of days, hopefully prices will come down now. Supply chains will resume once again. We are, of course, just simply hopeful. There is nothing else to suggest that prices are going to come down anytime soon. But shifting focus to another important story we're tracking, and that is with respect to a partnership between Google and Microsoft. I would like to pull that picture here, and I want to understand, why are these two gentlemen happy? What exactly are they doing, and what sort of AI revolution are we talking about? Amit, I want to come to you first. I mean, the two most powerful people, at least one of the most powerful people
from the world of technology,
the world of tech, are you hugging each other? What's brought them together?
It's probably the largest AI partnership, collaboration of sorts. It's for the AI community. They want to, at least what they're saying is, they want to make AI open source, free for research and commercial use. Now, Case 2 Point is basically a platform called Llama 2, which is going to Microsoft is going to have preferred cloud access provider to this. It is now accessible through Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web, and all the platforms on Hugging Face. So that's an AI partnership. According to the statement by Mark Zuckerberg, he says he wants developers and researchers to stress test these platforms so that they can early identify and fix problems faster. OpenAI is a developing technology. You do not know what is going to happen, what is going to stall it, what problems are going to happen. So a crowd collaboration always helps fixing it and developing it faster, and that is why this collaboration. Karthik.
And is this I think big question is, and everybody who's watching perhaps would want to know, is this going to be a competition to ChatGPT? Is it going to compete with ChatGPT in magnitude, in its answers?
It's going to develop it faster is what I can foresee.
Okay.
Though I am not a developer, my knowledge is limited. But
as a user, what do I get out of Llama as opposed to ChatGPT?
Yeah, so that is a detail that I'll have to study. But right now, what they have spoken about is Llama 2. It's an open source platform. I believe it is going to even enhance the performance of platforms like ChatGPT.
Okay. So essentially it's free. That's one takeaway.
Essentially it's free. Essentially it is generative AI, which means it's going to generate text-based responses, not images yet from what we know. It is going to be apparently very helpful in coding. So you will be able to write languages and volumes of code in fractions of second. But hey, so can ChatGPT, right? Now just look at the games at play in Silicon Valley. Microsoft is one of the lead investors in OpenAI, which runs ChatGPT. $10 billion, no less, was invested by Microsoft into ChatGPT, into OpenAI that develops ChatGPT, and that made it among the most valuable startups, in the world. Now, on the back of that existing deal, there is another partnership with Meta on deployment of OpenAI. Now you're talking about a tripartite development here where Microsoft is the fulcrum, which has made one investment in OpenAI and now partnering with a competitor of ChatGPT. So what is going on here? What I would like to...
They want it to be a win-win situation.
So it's definitely a win-win situation for Microsoft,
right,
which will have access to the technology at play for OpenAI and will have access to, if not the code, at least the thinking behind distribution of this technology within the social media ambit of Meta. So will you have AI generative content available now on Facebook? on Instagram, on Threads, on WhatsApp. Right, these are the companies that Mark Zuckerberg leads because they are part of the Meta ambit. And Microsoft now partnering on Llama and Llama 2. Llama 2 is going to be text-based, which I think is an immediate response to ChatGPT. Llama was supposed to be pure play, generative AI, but ChatGPT made it interactive, made AI interactive. You could raise questions, further your discussion with an existing bot who would understand the conversation happened thus far and respond accordingly. Now, Llama 2 comes in direct response to ChatGPT and GPT-4, which is the ultimate version of ChatGPT as we know it. All of this happens also at a time when new users and activity on ChatGPT declines sequentially. So last month we saw a decline in usage of ChatGPT, which was among the fastest rising apps until Threads, owned by Zuckerberg, beat ChatGPT down, and Threads became the most downloaded app. Right. So the games at play are interesting. I think technology leaders out there have understood that in isolation, it'll be very difficult to compete with the behemoth called Google. Google Bard not been successful yet, but Google at the end of the day is Google, and I think it has an advantage in AI and machine learning, of many years over these new entrants of OpenAI, Microsoft, etc. So I think Microsoft, OpenAI, and Meta together are trying to form this caucus, which can give Google and Google Bard specifically a run for its money.
And I think in all of this, Microsoft's position is unique, as you correctly pointed out. It's putting its money where the mouth is, which is literally everywhere.
Yeah.
It wants to win through entity A and through entity B, and whichever wins it, at the end of it, Microsoft wins.
So I think Microsoft has more skin in the game, specifically because Microsoft and Google command the entire OS business. If you keep Apple aside, it's Microsoft and Google which command OS respectively on desktops and mobile phones. So I think there is a direct competition brewing there, and
Absolutely.
then even on the search engine, Bing versus Chrome. So there is a lot more at stake for Microsoft.
And very little competition, come to think of it, because Chrome has majority of the business.
True. No, Bing has also reached good numbers.
Less than 7%.
But it's also a newer entrant when Chrome had already occupied the market. So it seems that overall Microsoft faces immense competition from Google, and it needs to get its AI game right, and whatever it takes, whether it is a $10 billion investment into ChatGPT or a deal with Mark Zuckerberg, which gives access to not just Llama 2 but the entire social media ambit, which runs incidentally on mobile phones which are powered by Google's Android. But I think if Microsoft gets its game right on AI, then there is some survival chance
All right,
for the future.
Satya Nadella showing all his cards there as he shakes hands with Mark Zuckerberg for one of the largest AI deal. If you are wondering what Llama is, you can watch this segment again. And remember, we told you first. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition. Thanks very much for watching.
इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हैं क्योंकि सभी लोग कर रहे हैं
Coaching is now starting from grade 3, 4, 5, 6.
कोटा जाने वाली बीच राह में आधे टेस्ट देके हैं सिलेक्शन की चाह में
ऑल इंडिया का बच्चा कोटा जाता है
This rat race is for rats, not for humans. So why should we even be a part of it?
The Rat Race. This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News 9+. Download now. BrahMos. Stealthy, lethal, precise. It flies at 3 times the speed of sound and cuts through a warship like a hot knife through butter. China's navy has threatened its neighbors, and they are turning to the BrahMos for protection. The Warship Killer. This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News 9+. Download now.
Akshay Kumar makes his Marathi film debut in Mahesh Manjrekar's Vedat Marathi Veer Daudale Sa. What's inspired Khiladi Kumar to foray into new terrain? Playing iconic Maratha king Shivaji Maharaj, he's jumping on a bandwagon that spells magic on the box office. Why are filmmakers in a rush to chronicle the life and times of Shivaji Maharaj?
Why do we feel the hunger, the need? Why are we compelled to make a film on Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj? And that too so many films. For a simple reason, he was the people's king.
So I think there's this herd mentality in the film industry. One film clicks, then there's a line of producers who announce films with similar storylines.
Personality that has not been adequately explored on the big screen.
I think among filmmakers the craze is because the Marathi audience is somehow inclined to seeing films about the life and times of Shivaji Maharaj, and several films in the recent past based on his life or based on some chapter of his life have done well, you know.
Now we see in the last 10 to 15 years that historical subjects have made a remarkable comeback. So here is a personality and a remarkable personality that hasn't been explored in the new era. I think that's the reason a lot of filmmakers are tapping into Chhatrapati Shivaji's life in order to depict it on the big screen and on OTT platforms and other such platforms. One other factor that is also responsible for this series of movies on Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is that ever since Prime Minister Narendra Modi's dispensation has come in 2014, there have been previously neglected historical figures around whom there has been plenty of discussion, whether it is Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, whether it's Veer Savarkar, whether it's Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj.
The rising number of films on Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is also directly linked with the current political mood in Maharashtra.
So we have been depending on these stories which are borrowed. Our heroes have been borrowed, our icons have been borrowed. Where are our real icons? Where are our real heroes? It is high time that